Hi, and welcome to our discussion on the myofascial web. And for those of you who are familiar with Tom Myers, you know that Tom Myers is an expert in the field of massage therapy, yoga, and fascia. Tom Myers wrote a book called Anatomy Trains, and I was lucky enough to have him as one of the teachers in my yoga therapy training. Tom Myers has revolutionized the way that we look at fascia and the way that we look at the human body, the muscles, and the bones. The fascia is a membrane that covers our entire body and creates pockets that the muscles fit inside of. This articulation helps the muscle fibers to work in a group and helps our body to move more efficiently. The fascia is hydrated through the interstitial tissue. The fascia runs in lines, both up and down our body and crossing through our body from right to left and left to right. The fascial system connects our entire body on a continuum. The interstitial tissue is the hydration matrix for the fascial system. The fascial tissue is woven so tightly that it becomes dehydrated easily. As we age, this dehydration becomes more prevalent. The interstitial tissue helps to maintain movement and range of motion by hydrating the fascial tissue. As we age, our cells begin to dry out, and our entire body becomes dehydrated on a cellular level. This is what eventually causes our bodies to become old. The aging process is largely related to hydration of the tissues. When the fascial system becomes dehydrated, we lose range of motion and we feel tight and stiff. Yoga helps us to maintain our fascial system by giving it an opportunity to move around all three planes of movement. Tom Myers' book, Anatomy Trains, teaches us that the fascial system is laid out on the body in lines. The deep front line and the deep back line go from the foot all the way to the crown of the head, and the crown of the head all the way to the foot. These deep lines within the body create the lines of energy that we feel in our yoga asana practice. From an energetic perspective, the fascia helps to pull energy through the muscle tissue by creating a compressive structure around the muscles themselves. This compression helps the muscles to move energy in the form of blood, lymph, lactic acid, and ATP through the tissue. We can actually feel it in our asana practice. For example, an extended side angle. We feel the fascial movement of energy from the heel all the way to the fingertips when we practice extended side angle correctly. This is one of my favorite ways to teach fascia in class. Myofascial release is achieved through foam rolling or through compression with a hard surface like a tennis ball. You can also achieve myofascial release with Rolfing, a technique of massage therapy designed to help re-articulate the myofascial fibers. Many people think that yin yoga is a way to work with the fascial system. Unfortunately, that's actually a byproduct of yin yoga and not the primary reason that we practice it. Yin yoga works with the yin tissues in the body. The yin tissues in the body include the plastic tissues, the bones, the cartilage, the ligaments. These plastic tissues are starved of liquid, blood, and they are stressed appropriately during our yin practice. When we change positions, a whole flood of fluid runs into the joint, creating a cleansing effect. The tiny micro tears that have occurred due to the appropriate stress on the joint and ligaments heal and make the ligament stronger. Therefore, yen can be used to help strengthen joints in the body. A byproduct of yen is that the fascial system has an appropriate amount of time to release. Longer holds in intense postures create an opportunity for the fascial system to be stretched. This stretching helps to reinvigorate the tissue and make space. Otherwise, the tissue would continue to become dehydrated, further shrinking and making the individual feel tight. The fascial system creates a continuum for which energy can move throughout the body. Here's a neat myofascial release technique that you can use with your students. First, have your students turn their head to the right and note how far they can see. Then have your students turn their head to the left to note how far they can see. This gives them an idea of their range of motion. The next step is to have your students massage the thumb on the tightest side. So my tightest side is my right today. So I'm going to massage my right thumb. Now you're really going to massage it almost to the point where it's a little uncomfortable. And what we're doing is we're loosening up the fascia that connects to the neck, head, and ear. Now once you feel like you've gotten your thumb massaged appropriately, you can go in and begin to work with the ear on the same side, massaging around the ear, massaging even the tissue on the head and neck around the ear. And a few more massages to the ear, and then have your students look again. You can see, especially if you were doing it with me, how much our range of motion can increase just by getting the fascia to release. This is an excellent example of a simple myofascial technique that you can teach your students that will benefit them right away. Other myofascial techniques use blocks or balls, specifically lacrosse balls, to get into the fascia. The point here is to move the fascia in the same line that it generates. The goal here is to move the fibers of the fascia in alignment. We want them all going in the same direction. When fascia becomes tight, dehydrated, and even injured, we begin to see what Tom Myers calls a felting of the fascia. The fascia molecules begin to overlap and create a bond which prevents movement. If we can roll those fascial fibers back into alignment, we can free up some space to move. The best practices to encourage myofascial release from a yogic perspective would be yen and restorative. Although the primary focus of yen is not the fascial system, it is a byproduct of the practice, and therefore can be helpful for people experiencing tightness in their fascial system. Restorative is also an excellent option for creating space within the fascia. The passive postures found in restorative, coupled with long hold times, create space for the fascia to release and open up. This allows the muscles to move fully, and it allows joints to move within their full range of motion. As you're working with your students and teaching them about the myofascial system, make sure that they understand that the myofascial system creates compartments for the muscles to live within. When the myofascial system is tight, the muscle feels tight. When the myofascial system is loose and hydrated, the muscle feels loose and hydrated, and the joint can move in its full range of motion. For this reason, it's important to maintain fascial health. Our yoga practice, along with our pranayama practice, can help us to achieve this goal.